Coming up tonight on Sports Corner, Kent State falls to UNLV in the opening round of the NCAA tournament. We'll recap the ups and downs of Kent State's double-digit loss, and another Kent State athletic program wins a MAC regular season title. We'll tell you who we think should be the Indians' fifth starter in the rotation.
Also, Daily Kent Stater basketball beat reporter Doug Gulasy joins us to recap the 2007-2008 Golden Flashes basketball season. Stay tuned. Sports Corner begins right now.
Welcome, sports fans, to episode number 5 of Sports Corner, Kent State student-produced sports recap show. I'm your host, John Sable, alongside my partner, James Buckley. Coming up in the next half hour, James and I will fill you in on the latest news from the NCAA tournament, including what we think is the tournament's top upset so far.
That's right, John. We also, like I said, have Daily Kent State reporter Doug Gulasy in studio with us to break down the entire Kent State basketball season, what his predictions are for next year. But first, we have to go to that all-disappointing ending. As almost every Kent State basketball fan knows by now, the Flashes just could not get things going on Thursday. The Flashes finished the season not on the note they wanted to by scoring only 10 points in the first half. The team stormed back with 48 in the second, but to no avail. Final score, UNLV 71, Kent 58. Mike Scott's final game as a Golden Flash led to a double-double with 14 points and 10 rebounds. KSU finished the season 28-7 with both the regular season and tournament MAC championships. UNLV went on to get beat down by Kansas Jayhawks. Final score there, 75-56. The 28 wins was the most since Kent went to the Elite Eight. Later on, like I said, Doug Gulasy will recap the Flash's memorable season, but John, more Kent State sports news.
That's right, James. But first is some good news. The KSU gymnastics team completed an undefeated MAC record Friday with a 3-point victory against Eastern Michigan. The team also wrapped up the MAC regular season title with the win and will be the odds-on favorite at this weekend's MAC tournament. The Golden Flashes placed first in all 4 events and set a team high for total meet points. Senior Jill Kowalski, junior Rachel Stuck, and freshman Christina Lenny all tallied first-place finishes for Kent State. The Golden Flashes will host the conference tournament starting Saturday. Tune into TV2 for live coverage of the meet. And it's springtime, and that means baseball season is underway. But you wouldn't have noticed with some snow still on the ground. But that didn't stop Kent State baseball team from having its home opener this afternoon. The Golden Flashes pounded Malone College 16-4 indeed. Greg Rohan went 3 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a solo home run. Anthony Gallus also added a home run. A 7-run third inning proved to be the difference as Kent State combined with 5 home runs and 19 hits. James, your Pirates can't even do that.
I know.
The Golden Flashes will now get ready to host Cleveland State tomorrow. The first pitch is slated at 3 o'clock. And now we send it over to Randy Zimnick for our Athlete of the Week.
Hey, thanks, John. Jill Kowalski, you are this week's KSU Athlete of the Week. The senior's 9.85 score on the bars this weekend tied a career high, helping Kent State to the victory over Eastern Michigan. Coming up next on Sports Corner, John and James weigh in on how the graduation of Q and Mike Scott will hurt the Golden Flashes next year. And our Sports Corner Pick'em panel decides who has the upper hand in this weekend's Sweet 16. But first, classy Doug Gulasy breaks down every win-loss, three-pointer, slam dunk. You got it, he's got it. 2007-8 Golden Flashes. Stay tuned, Sports Corner. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Sports Corner. We are now joined by basketball beat writer for the Daily Kent Stater, Doug Gulasy. Doug, first off, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Doug.
Thank you for having me.
First off, Doug, what went wrong in Omaha?
I guess the correct answer to that question, John, is what did not go wrong in Omaha.
Yeah.
The Golden Flashes came out and just, I guess the correct term would be laid an egg on Easter weekend.
Good one. I like that.
I
wouldn't have thought of that one.
Good one.
10 first half points. UNLV just pressured them, and they just looks bad. When they got an easy shot, which wasn't often, they missed them. Lots of missed layups when they did get a chance. So just was not the ending they were looking for.
You know, you got to go afterwards to the press conferences. What was the reaction to a lot of the players? What was, the overall sense of everyone after that loss?
Well, obviously there was a lot of disappointment in the loss, but the most disappointment I felt that they had was in the way it went down. They knew they could have played better. They just came out and did not do what they had done all season long. And, when you do that, you're going to have the type of performance that they had.
Doug, in your opinion, you followed this team all season long. Would you consider this season a disappointment?
No, I wouldn't. They end up with the second most regular season wins in, or actually the most regular season wins in program history, the second most overall wins. I mean, they beat St. Mary's, they go on the road and beat St. Mary's, they get a national ranking, they win the regular season championship, they win the tournament championship. You add all that stuff together, I mean, I don't see how you could consider this season a disappointment.
So, yeah, we talked about that earlier. We thought anything less than a MAC championship would have been a disappointment,
Absolutely.
but they didn't. They got that, and they were able to get to the tournament. Now, it wasn't the reaction, it wasn't the stuff that we got, that we wanted. We didn't see them compete very competitively in that first round game, but,
Yeah, absolutely, and I think not just the fact that they win the MAC tournament, the fact that they really breezed through the MAC tournament. They beat Toledo by 20. They beat Akron by 19. They beat Miami. That was a good game, actually. The Miami game, they win on the last second shot there.
Yeah.
But overall, they went through that MAC tournament. Looked like it was pretty easy for them.
when did you covered all the games? When did you think this team had something special and had a chance to make the tournament?
Obviously, the St. Mary's game for me. Going out there to the West Coast, I mean, like 2,500 miles away from home. They're down 9 in the second half to a nationally ranked team. Hasn't lost at home all season long, and they come back and win the game. Al Fisher, that was really his coming out game for the team. Had 28 points in that game, and it was just a big win for the program, and they end up getting nationally ranked the next week because of it.
Now, Doug, Jim Christian has been rumored in the past year or so to be leaving. Last year, he almost got the job at Utah. Do you think Christian will leave after this year, even though they had a great year, even though they got bounced out? Could you see him leaving?
Well, John, that's a good question, and it's a little more up in the air right now after the loss in the NCAA tournament than it was maybe before that. Say they had a good run in the NCAA tournament, win a game or two, it's a lot more likely that he's leaving. But the fact that they not only that they lose, that it's such a disappointing performance in the game. They were never really in the game. They never made a serious run at UNLV, and so there's got to be some questions raised about whether a top-tier program would want Jim Christian. Now, there's always the possibility he goes to another mid-major, but he's a lot less likely now to get a major program job than he was before the tournament.
That's a good point.
We saw, obviously, Mike Scott and Q being the big vocal leaders. Who did you also see that you could see being a leader that stepped up this year and could be a leader for next year?
Well, I mean, obviously, you want to look at first at Al Fisher because he steps up and becomes the leading scorer in his first season with the team, and so obviously becomes a leader on the court. Another player I saw really step up in leadership was Jordan Mincy, and you don't see it with number-wise maybe, but
he stepped up big in some games.
Absolutely. I mean, the Miami game defensively, he's just a vocal leader out there on the court, and they feed off his energy. So I can definitely see him being a leader next year.
Well, brings me to my next question. Next season, who do you see to fill those voids of Mike Scott and Q?
Well, currently the players returning, you might have a little bit more of a slim pickings. They still have left Julian Sullinger, Isaac Knight, Brandon Parks, but you're losing 2 major cogs from this year's team, so they're going to have to be able to bring in some recruits to replace them.
What about the redshirt freshman DeMaria?
DeMaria is an interesting player. I haven't really seen him play. Obviously, he redshirted this year. Haven't seen him in practice, but he's not the back to the basket type from what I've heard. He's more of a shooter type there at forward. Maybe replaces some Mike Scott numbers, but you're not going to have a freshman really come in and replace anybody next year.
Well, Doug, thanks for joining us. If you want to stick around, we're going to have some debate segment. We'll talk about their team next year. Coming after the break, John and I and Doug will weigh in on the state of Kent State basketball. Where's it going? And will Dirk Nowitzki, is Mavs going to continue that playoff run? We have a great debate for coming up, folks. So
we'll see.
Stay tuned. Sports Corner will be right back.